When you were 8 years old, summer vacation felt like a geological era. You could wake up, ride a bike, fight a stick, drink something aggressively blue, get yelled at by an adult, recover emotionally, and somehow it was still 11:14 in the morning. Now, January begins. You answer 3 emails, you blink, and someone is putting up Christmas lights. So either the Earth has secretly increased its playback speed, or your brain is doing something very strange with time. And the weird part is, both of these can be true. A boring afternoon can feel endless, but a boring year can disappear instantly. How? Because your brain does not experience time in only one way. There is the time you feel while something is happening, and there is the time you feel when you look back at it. Those two clocks can completely disagree. 5 minutes in a dentist waiting room can feel longer than the Roman Empire. Every second introduces itself personally. Hello, I'm another second. There are many more of us. But 6 months later, that waiting room is barely a memory. Meanwhile, a 1-week vacation can fly by while you are living it. You are busy. You are distracted. You are not checking the clock. Then you return home, and that week feels enormous in your memory because it contains a new hotel, a strange street, a boat, a terrible sandwich, and one argument about directions that nearly ended the family. Fast while happening, long when remembered. Psychologists distinguish between experiencing time in the present and judging a period retrospectively. Attention, memory, and whether you were monitoring the clock can make those judgments behave very differently. That paradox explains a huge part of why life appears to accelerate. Studies do suggest that people tend to describe long periods, especially years and decades, as passing faster as they get older. But that does not necessarily mean an older person experiences every Tuesday afternoon at double speed. The age difference appears much more clearly when people look backward across long stretches of life. In other words, the clock may be normal. The compression happens during the replay. Now, you may have heard the popular explanation that each you becomes a smaller fraction of your life. When you're 10, 1 year is 10% of everything you have ever experienced. When you're 40, it is only 2.5%. And yes, that sounds beautifully mathematical. It also sounds like something a man with a whiteboard would say before trying to sell you a productivity course. Researchers call this the ratio explanation, and it might contribute. But it is not a complete answer. It cannot explain why 1 month feels huge and another month disappears. It cannot explain why your first week in a new city feels longer than 3 ordinary months at home. And it definitely cannot explain why Monday was 6 hours long, but the last 5 years took approximately 11 minutes. The ratio theory is popular and intuitive, but researchers note that it has limited direct evidence and struggles to explain why shorter periods can also feel dramatically different. A stronger idea is that your brain reconstructs long periods using change, new events, distinct places, first experiences, emotional moments. Clear boundaries, basically memory landmarks. Your brain does not store the year like a security camera recording every second. That would require a brain the size of a warehouse, and most of the footage would just be you looking for your phone while holding your phone. Instead, your memory saves selected scenes. And when many days look similar, your brain groups them together. Monday, wake up, work, phone, food, sleep. Tuesday, Monday, wearing a fake mustache. Wednesday, Monday, but with one different email. Thursday, nobody knows what Thursday is for. If 200 days share the same basic shape, your brain does not create 200 beautiful individual folders. It creates one folder labeled Work Happened. Then it compresses the file. Researchers call one version of this idea routine compression. Periods containing fewer distinct changes or periods mentally grouped into broad categories may feel shorter when remembered. The evidence is promising but mixed, so this is one important mechanism rather than the final answer. This is one reason childhood can feel so long in memory. Childhood is full of firsts. First day at a new school, first best friend, first sleepover, first time getting lost in a supermarket and briefly accepting that this is your new family now. New teachers, new classrooms, new rules, new fears, new freedoms. Your brain has to keep updating the map because the world keeps changing. Adulthood can become the opposite. Same road, same desk, same supermarket, same conversation where someone asks, "How have you been?" And you both agree to say busy instead of beginning a 40-minute emotional investigation.
So childhood gets stored like a complete television series. Adulthood sometimes gets stored like Season 7, mostly emails. Now, scientists are still debating exactly how much routine causes the feeling that life is speeding up. The evidence is not perfectly clean. Some studies support the idea that predictable, repetitive periods feel shorter in retrospect, and that mentally grouping many events into a few categories makes a year feel faster. Other studies have found mixed or even opposite results, which is science's way of saying, your brain is complicated. Please stop demanding one cute answer. Other things may also contribute. Attention, arousal, Time pressure, memory ability, how absorbed you are in what you are doing, and how satisfied or emotionally connected you feel to a period of your life. Current research treats the acceleration of life as a combination of possible mechanisms rather than one proven universal cause. This creates another trap. When you are deeply engaged, time often feels fast in the moment because you are paying attention to the activity instead of monitoring the clock. When you are bored, anxious, or waiting, time can crawl because your attention keeps checking it. So slow time is not automatically good. Prison sentence probably feels very long.
That is not the life hack we are looking for. The goal is not to make every minute drag. The goal is to make your days enjoyable while you live them, and distinct enough that they do not vanish when you look back. Because here is the part that should bother you. A life can be extremely busy and still feel empty in memory. You can answer messages all day, watch hundreds of videos, switch between 12 apps, attend meetings, read headlines, move constantly. And at the end of the month, your brain may still summarize everything as phone. Busyness is not the same as novelty. Information is not the same as experience. And being mentally occupied is not the same as being present. So can you actually slow life down? Not physical time. Unfortunately, you cannot negotiate with the calendar. The calendar has no customer service, but you may be able to make your life feel less compressed in memory by creating more contrast and more landmarks. And no, this does not require quitting your job, moving to another country, and becoming a mysterious person who makes pottery near a mountain. Small changes count. Take a different route. Try a food you have never ordered. Learn a skill badly. Go somewhere you have never entered. Talk to someone new. Plan one small event that makes this Saturday different from the previous 12 Saturdays. A 2024 study found that participating in unique events produced richer episodic memories and altered participants' experience of time during a highly repetitive period. That does not prove novelty can literally slow life, but it supports using distinctive experiences to make periods richer and less interchangeable in memory. The point is not constant excitement.
If every day contains a helicopter, a tiger, and an emergency passport, you have created a different problem. The point is distinctiveness. Give your brain something that separates one week from another. Attention matters too. You do not need to document every second of your life like you are gathering evidence for a trial. But occasionally stop and notice where you are. The light, the temperature, the sound, the stupid sentence your friend just said, the feeling of the moment before it becomes a story, and create simple boundaries. One memorable thing each week, one new thing each month, a photo that means something, a one-line note before bed. What happened today that I do not want blended into everything else? You are not trying to build a perfect archive. You are giving your brain chapter titles, because that may be the real reason childhood summers felt endless. They were not longer. They had more edges, more firsts, more chapters, more moments that could not be confused with the day before. Your life is not necessarily moving faster. Your brain is becoming more aggressive with the summary. The calendar counts every day equally. Memory does not. Memory decides whether the last year was 365 separate pages or one sentence. I was busy. So before this year becomes another blurry file with a name like 2026 Final 2, do something tomorrow that your brain cannot mistake for last Tuesday. Because the scariest way to lose time is not simply to run out of it. It is to live it in a form your memory can compress.